Alright, I think the stream crashed for some reason and we have missed this race start, but Destroyer Sean has had a tremendous start from P5 and now he's in the lead of the race at the end of lap 1. Mr. Psycho ALB in P2, he's lost that lead. There as ANL Volcott and QRT Nick, I believe, Volcott making a move, QRT Nick making a move on ANL Volcott. Rather as Tails BR has retired from the session, and that's a retirement in the pits, so that's not going to cause a safety car to come out. But SBS Mirage has had Mr. Rage rather has had a major moment, and he finds himself at the back of the grid. Now coming back to the top three, the Destroyer Sean has pulled out a second lead towards the end of the final lap. Let's also look at the tire situation for these drivers. So the soft tires giving him the grip that he needs in the initial part, especially for the race start, and he now finds himself up in the lead. There were drivers going almost 4 wide during the race start, but for some reason the game just crashed on me, and we have a pretty close midfield to bunched up together. All the drivers, this train, everybody is just tucked in right behind them. Let's see how the race unfolds over the course of next 27 laps, as there are a few hard runners as well, while majority of the grid is on the medium compound, as Yagi-san probably had a major moment, and so has not been retired from the session, and so has QRT Nick. I'm not sure what happened, but that pretty much looked like a retirement on track for me, and whoa, not the best of news there, as there is a virtual safety car that has been called out because of the retirements of a couple of drivers here, as now the drivers would be driving under a delta, but that was unfortunate for QRT. Nick just got collected in that retired car of Snotwin, so not the best of results for him or those two drivers, as that might just go under the scanner of the stewards for retirement on track, and not the best of things to do. It was still a 27 lap race to go. The driver could have held his head and gotten back in the race, but nonetheless, each man their own, to each their own. And he decided to do a premature end to his race, as let's see when we get the green flag conditions, as DRS has now been enabled, so that means we are under green flag racing. Troy very close to or rather Kaya very close to Troy, rather as even much closer than Troy is to Psycho ALB, but this is a battle to watch out for, the battle for the lead, as the soft tires of Destroyer Sean would also start falling away from him in the course of the next few laps, as the Alpha Tauri of Troy is really threatening Mr. Psycho ALB ahead. All those drivers on this, both the drivers on the same set of compound. There's a hard runner of Kaya right behind, who is also the teammate of the McLaren of Mr. Psycho ALB up ahead. So the McLaren are poised to find themselves in a good position to play the team game, as Kaya is really turning up the heat on the Alpha Tauri, and joins this battle is Igor in the Red Bull, as now DRS would be open. Mr. Psycho won't have the DRS from Destroyer ahead. Is he? What's happened? Let's see what happens now, as they now come across the back straight, but Destroyer has really, as much as he has pulled away from the pack, he has depleted all his battery in doing so, as well as in this back straight retains P2 is the McLaren driver of Psycho ALB. Now behind, can, as much as you get the DRS assist here in the start finish straight, but not that not that lengthy a straight that is to make any kind of moves unless the driver up ahead really has a major moment. As let's go back if there is anything that's happening behind. As URL Ranger is also pretty close on God's Word Killer, and let's see who, both their lights are also flashing, so not a lot of battery management by these drivers in this first part of the race. And which this also, the battle for P14 also looks like, or the battle for P13 looks like one of the closest battles, as URL Ranger is also close on God's Word. He is closing in, but God's Word, probably with that straight line speed advantage, still holds on to his position. As going up ahead, is Troy going to make a move on Psycho ALB? Is there a move coming, as Mr. Psycho ALB is now closing in on the TR of the Red Bull ahead, but defends the middle of the track? The McLaren driver, the AlphaTauri, looking for a switchback, does a brilliant switchback. Side by side they go across the start finish straight, and the AlphaTauri of Troy has made that move on Psycho, and he would now be looking to catch Destroyer, because these 5-lap-old softs and these mediums would pretty much be giving the same position as ANL Exo Wolves. Loses the position to FA Yama, as URL Ranger went for an attempt out at turn 1 on God's Word Killer, but he still has to hold station there. As now going back to the lead, Troy has closed in all the gap on Destroyer Son, and he might just have DRS on him. So Destroyer Son not really losing a lot of grip on those soft tires. Now those soft tires are pretty much very ordinary now. He would be, as the drivers come very close to each other, almost going head to tail there. Now Destroyer Sean would come under a lot of attack. DRS wide open for Troy and the cars behind. Is Troy defends the inside, is the red defending the inside is the Red Bull driver, but Troy without overspeed leaves him just about space at the apex. Now the Red Bull of Destroyer wants to come back, and he loses his car. So those soft tires just gets a bit of throttle greedy, and oh, he loses all those positions, and also his front wing, which is, has it caused any kind of, no, it hasn't caused any VSC or a safety car. So now the top 4 have been really separated. Now Destroyer Sean would now be under attack from FAIMA, as there was another yellow flag behind. I don't know why that was, but FAIMA, can he make a move on Destroyer Sean, who I believe does have a broken front wing or a damaged front wing, but he doesn't seem to be losing a lot of downforce, as URL Ranger also loses a position to Xavier there, as the two McLarens now running in formation, trying to put and plan an attack on the AlphaTauri, but Kaya is closer than ever to Mr. Psycho ALB. Are there any team orders that are going to come here, or are both the drivers going to follow suit? Looks like the latter, as Mr. Psycho ALB is closing in on the AlphaTauri, but oh, contact between the two McLarens, and Kaye comes out worse in both of this, and now he has FAIMA, who has made a move on Destroyer Sean, who decides to head back into the pit. So I think that's going to be a front wing change as well for him, as now Igor from P5 finds himself in P3 with two drivers losing positions for faults of their own, as there's another yellow flag for the Alfa Aston Martin of CPI or CPL Damon, so not the best of news for him, as Yagizan is now also close to Mr. Rage, who is close to Exo Wolves up ahead and who is losing ground to FAIMA, so he would still have the DRS assist on this lap, but would he be able to maintain have that assist in the next straight would be the question. He is within that second, so that's good news for him as the Haas driver of URL Ranger goes on the inside of Xavier with that DRS assist. Now, will Xavier aim to come back at him at the next straight? We'll find out as the Alpine driver of Yagizan is also very close to the Alpine, who is close to Exo Wolf, who somehow probably lost that DRS and now also the position too. I believe he's still holding on. He's still holding on there. Exo Wolves, can he hold on enough? Yagizan is on the outside. He has made that move. Exo Wolves want to come back at him. Go side by side through turns 1, 2 and 3. Both these drivers, but Exo Wolf has to lead that position for not having the best of lines through those set of corners, but that is some brilliant racing between these drivers as now there is a yellow for the Alpine or the Aston Martin of Damon. Oh, it's not had the best of laps, Damon, has he? But what's happening coming up back up front? Psycho ALB had momentarily went out of that 1 second gap to Troy up ahead, but he is back right now. It's all about what kind of exits you get out of this very technical section, but I believe he has lost that DRS, and now Igor would be really eager to make that move on him. He is tucked in behind the McLaren taking the slipstream. Does he pull out? He takes a peek, but nothing doing there for Igor. Oh, as Igor has had a major moment and he has reset to track as well. So I'm assuming there are heavy penalties coming for such infringements, as the Alpha Tauri and the Haas are side by side at that penultimate corner, and now the Haas driver has made a move. The Alpha Tauri switches the line, pulls on the inside, who breaks late, almost both drivers braking at the same point, and contact between the two drivers and a reset to track by the Alpha Tauri, and the Alpha Tauri driver has lost a bit of ground to the ones ahead, but FAIMA now hot on Igor. Is this a move coming down at middle of the track, defending, or rather the inside of the Red Bull driver now pulls to the middle? FAIMA, URL Ranger, has retired from the session, and that's not on the track per se, not on the pits, and he has probably lost his car at those S's in the first sector, but FAIMA has successfully made the move on Igor there, and now would have to put his defensive gear on as Igor would now get the DRS, and would he be able to close in is the question, but I don't think that is going to be the case right now, as Stretch and Godsword have also exchanged positions, Stretch making that move on the Ferrari driver, and Volcott, there's a spinner off the Ferrari, and that has called a virtual safety car, and not caring much about the pit lines, and that is precisely the reason why he doesn't, because he has chosen to retire from the session, as there's another VSC that has come through, and all the speeds of these drivers would just be neutralized, not the distances, if they are able to manage their delta well. But Psycho, for some reason, is still closing in, and now there are green flag conditions racing to go already. And I hope there are no drivers. These are just penalties for the drivers and not a drive-through penalty. Yep, these are just time penalties for the drivers, as the Red Bull of Igor and FA Arma in the Mercedes are very close, involved in a battle. Right behind them are the Alfa Romeo drivers, Alfa Romeo and the Alpine drivers of Mr. Rage and Yagizen, and Exo Wolves right behind them, a bit away from their DRS, but definitely would want to make any kind of positions as the drivers ahead get involved in battles. But is there a move coming? Igor Jelen and the Mercedes too close for comfort, but FA gets a brilliant exit out of the penultimate corner. But Igor does have the DRS. He's closed in, defends the middle of the track, the Mercedes, but still all the drivers hold ground, and this has just invited the Alfa Romeo and the Alpine into the picture. And there's a spinner of Igor, and oh, I hope that's not a reset to track, and you just caught caught your spin, because that wouldn't be really great news for you, as SBS Mr. Age now behind FAI who's had a brilliant race so far. He's kept his nose clean, and he started at the behind in the second half, I believe, and has gained a lot of positions. I think. Yes, he has. Not in the second half, but he started P9 and is now in P5, and now P4 rather. Please make that P4, as SBS Mr. Age gets a time penalty, and so does Igor. Not the best of outcomes here for them, but SBS Mr. Age is probably a few car lengths away to be able to make any kind of move, and the Alpine, but the DRS will help him in his defense against the Alpine driver, as this field is now starting to space out, as we have a battle for P9 that's fairly pretty close, and we have another battle for P4 which is rather getting pretty feisty, and FAIMA still holding ground there. All these drivers on the same set of tires with the same tire age, so their tire wear might just be very similar. Uh, it's all about tire management and how long can these drivers take their tires. They are on the hard, so I'm assuming they'll go for at least 4 to 5 more laps, as Destroyer Sean has had a major moment there at the SS and has lost his car. While SBS Mr. Rage looks to dive down the inside of FA, loses his car a bit in the process, but recovers his car now, but he won't have the DRS assist, and the Alpine of Yagizan is very close to him, and without the DRS, can the Alfa Romeo driver put up any kind of a defense? Yagizan, side by side, those two drivers, Yagizan has made the move well before the braking zone, but now the Alfa Romeo will get the DRS at the exit of this penultimate corner, and just gets a bit squirrely at the exit, but he's still got his car running, so he would look to live to fight another day against the Alpine, as now FAIMA can still not really breathe easy, as ANL Exo Wolves and Igor have come back into the pit, and so is the Red Bull of Destroyer Sean, who gets a speeding in the pit lane penalty and a subsequent retirement. For Destroyer Sean, we haven't had any kind of safety cars so far on this race. 2 VSCs, yes, but that's everything that we've had so far, as Igor would now be eager to make a move on Exo Wolves, and Yagizan, can he pose any kind of threat to FAIMA? We down as they come to the back straight, FAIMA, or rather the Alpine, is still a few car lengths behind, but does he get a brilliant exit? No, FAIMA gets a brilliant exit out of that corner and now has pulled away from Yagizan. So Yagizan probably lacking that tad bit of pace to pose any kind of threat to FA. He can just probably look to string along with him tucked into his DRS behind and probably get away from the likes of Mr. Rage behind, as Exo Wolves is also a bit close to be able to make any kind of move on this lap on the Red Bull, as the drivers have fairly now spaced out. The McLarens just following each other on two different strategies, but it's pretty much that time where the pit window might just be open for the soft runners. Sorry, the medium runners. I beg your pardon there, as Yagi-san does get close in this part, but then the exit that FAIMA gets, but he's closer than ever this time around. Does he get a brilliant exit? Both the drivers get very comparable exits now. The Alpine would have the DRS assist, but he doesn't have the battery. Pulls on to the left. Both the drivers now at through the penultimate corner. Who's got the DRS? And now the Alpine, or rather FAIMA, dives into the pits there. So the hard runner of FA has already dived into the pits. Is that a wing change for him? No, that really isn't. So he'll look to take his mediums for the next 14 laps and might just be the fast drive, one of the fastest drivers on the grid. As Psycho has also come out on a set of hard tires, and so has Troy. Cold tires, cold hard tires, giving them a lot of understeer through a tricky, slow left-hander, which just you really need to line up and get a good exit for a long straight up. Right after that slow left-hander, I don't know what that corner is called per se, as there's a yellow flag and Xavier tired from the session, and that looks his car is still moving, so that looks like a potential retirement on track again. Whoa, I'm not sure what's with the drivers retiring on the track and leaving, but yep, not a lot of battles to follow really, as Woolcott would look to line himself up for P8 and take that position off Mr. Rage in the next few laps, as he really, yep, he probably dived down into the pits in around lap 13, which might have essentially been a good time for all these medium runners, but there were some drivers who decided to prolong their stint, as a lot of position swapping happening. There is a yellow flag for the McLaren and another retirement on track, and that retirement causes Igor to lose his car completely. Oh, that's a safety car. So, oh my god, on track retirements causing collateral damage there and taking out drivers, as that isn't really the best of the race, and we've just crossed the halfway mark. Just we still have about 1/3 of the race to go. Oh, that's not the best. I hope my stream is still running. Oh, not the best. I hope my stream is still running. Yeah, it is. It is. Thankfully, it is. All right. So, is this? Oh, with the new update now, we do have two sets of medium tires now. So, expect seeing all the drivers on a set of mediums now until the end of the race, and at least that's thankfully made brought in a more a variety in strategy options that we can probably see now in whatever league races that we are part of, as Stretch gets a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Ooh. Hopefully he can still keep his head and try gaining as many positions as he can. But this, I mean, this race would definitely go a lot under the steward's purview because there have been incidents that really could have been avoided if not for drivers retiring on track. That's not the best views that we want to see as a spectator slash commentator slash a fellow racing driver, as we have Stretch who is to catch up to the safety car, but I believe this is the first lap of safety car running, so we would definitely have another lap, and so probably 10 laps of racing green under green flag conditions for us. FA IMA right now in the lead, the Alpine in P2 right now, so their strategies, especially FA IMA with his strategy on point there. He's gained 8 positions and now is in the lead of the race, and he can definitely see those tires through to the checkered flag. LRE Stretch also starting way last is now in point scoring positions courtesy 10 retirements in the race, but there still are 10 laps to go and anything can happen, and you could see him climbing a few more positions if at all, as we have a pretty much a lull period. But a beautiful helicopter shot across the slow left-handed hairpin or a semi-hairpin corner. That's pretty much a hairpin, as we cannot really go on board with Bert Mylander's ride. Otherwise, we could have probably enjoyed that, but let's enjoy that from the onboard of the Mercedes of FAIMA. That is the safety car in this lap. Hopefully, it should be. I think the Alpine of Stretch has got the pack up, but we still. I'm not sure if we got the message. So, not sure if FAIMA should be pulling that gap to the safety car, which might just lead us to having another round. I'm not sure if maybe I did miss the message of safety car in this lap, did I? Looks like I did. No, I didn't. The safety car is still out, so not sure why FAIMA did a Checo Perez from Singapore, but let's see if the stewards take interest in that, as we have now another lap of safety car running, and I can probably come back to the tires. Is it? Everybody is pretty much on same tire life and same set, barring CPL or CPI Damon, who's on 10 lap old hard tires. So expect him to either produce a Minister of Defense worthy, title worthy show, or expect him to fall right back to back, back, right to the back of the pack. I'm just losing a bit of my words there. So the cold not really helping me, but there is just a bit of a drift from FAIMA there. But now he should catch up to the safety car, so we can have that safety car in this lap message and we get going. Still waiting for that message to come through, and that message is for some reason not coming through. Oh, it is. Finally, safety car is in this lap and probably go on board with the Alpine of Yagi-san and see when FAIMR decides to bounce. And alright, and FAIMR has gone, and that is a considerable gap, and which will let him breathe easy as the drivers are now looking to warm their tires up. Pretty neat and clean restart from all the drivers as everybody is really holding their stations as coming to up in the up front again as the Alpha Tauri of Troye, I think that is really closing in on the Alpine more than the Alpine is closing in on FAIMA right now. But going back, yes, he is. I'll still stick back here as the Alpha Tauri pulls on to the inside, has that mega deployment of battery and gets that overspeed and makes that move through on the Alpine driver. And now Mr. I think I've forgotten that name, whatever Mr. he is, but he has also joined the party, and Psycho ALB in the McLaren is also looking to get involved as goes defensive. Or the Alpine goes to the leftmost part of the track. The AlphaTauri almost kissing the race of FAIMA there, but FAIMA still holding ground. Does the AlphaTauri get a better exit than the Mercedes? He does. He pulls around the inside. Both the drivers side by side through to turn one, and I think the provisional pole sitter takes his lead of the race back. Now coming to the fag end of the race, can FAIMA pose any kind of threat, or is the AlphaTauri driver going to run away with this? But is there anything happening behind? Not really, as the drivers have spaced themselves out. Now coming to this long straight where all the difference of straight line speeds might just be very evident here. But yes, like the Mercedes driver has closed in just a bit of ground to the Alpha Tauri, but the Alpha Tauri gets some brilliant drive across his slow left and right handers. And does the Mercedes driver get a decent exit? He does, but the Alpine is also hot behind. Now at the end of this lap, we should also have DRS enabled as the McLaren of Mr. Psycho pulls around on the inside of Alfa Romeo, gives him a peek on the inside, just a bit of wheel rubbing between the two drivers. The Alfa Romeo still holds that position from Mr. Psycho ALB as Aiko Jalen has left the session, so I think he was also not in the race. He DNF'd because of that retiree on track. But the Alpha Tauri looks like has pulled almost a second from the car behind, and FAIMA also does not have a lot of battery to contend with, so it's just a second. Does he have DRS? The wing doesn't really open, but it is open for the Alpine and also the Alfa Romeo and the Red Bull behind. So expect FA to come under a lot of pressure if he is not able to pull himself back into that 1 second difference from the Alpha Tauri ahead, but the Alfa Romeo of Mr. Rage. Now DRS wide open for him, but also for the Alpine. Mr. Rage not also having a lot of battery to contend with. But can the Alpine make a move on the Mercedes? No is the answer. Oh, I don't know if the driver got squirrely or that was just a lag on my side. But hopefully everything's well for all these drivers, and the two Williams also in formation holding their position against the Aston Martin, who finds himself just a tad bit behind from the Williams, as the Alpha Tauri has now definitely pulled more than a second's lead and has no real threat behind him. But the Mercedes driver would definitely be coming under some kind of attack, as there's a safety car for some reason. Oh, I think it is the Alpine of Stretch, is it? Why can't I go on to that car? I think that is another retirement on track. Oh my god. I don't know if I'm not sure if I remember the rules, but I don't know if there's on track retirement is really allowed, because there's really, I don't know if that on track retirement caused a safety car or if the driver had an incident just before that. I don't know, was that Exo Wolves? I think it was Exo Wolves who retired, and Wolcott has got a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car. And that's, he would definitely find himself down into P8. But do we see any drivers boxing for a set of soft tires? Yes, we do see Mr. Rage coming into the pits for a set of soft tires. Woolcott has also retired from the session. But is that 90% of the race done by you for you to get any kind of points? I'm not very sure. But the hard runner of Damon is now also back into the pits, and he comes out on a set of medium tires and used medium tires. Oh, I'm not sure why that call was made. Oh, that's pretty strange. A prayer in disguise for him could be the safety car going for another lap. He might just be able to change his tires then, but none of the drivers ahead have thought of boxing. So can SPR Mr. Rage put any kind of a dent into the points that the drivers ahead of him would be getting from, as things stand right now? Let's see, that's going to be an interesting thing to watch out for. And let's have a look at the penalties he has. It's just 3 seconds of penalties. Stretch has 14, so he's going to get that position on him anyway. And P5, and it's all about getting the maximum out of those soft tires for these last few laps, because I believe the safety car would go on for one more lap, and which would mean we have 3 laps of green flag racing, as we have another driver diving into the pits, and so is two two drivers diving into the pits, and they are both the Alpines, and they would be double stacking. So Damon might just gain the position, and Damon would be coming back into the pits, having come out on those medium tires. So Stretch probably serving his 5 second stop go penalty, and now it'll come down to 9 seconds of penalties for him. And at the back of the grid is, but now SBS Mr. Age on the soft tires is in P4, and he will have lap 27, 28, and 29 for him to make any kind of inroads or even challenge for victory. If he can pull away 3 seconds from these drivers, and there will be DRS in the final lap as well, so the drivers might just have to go into a bit of battery conservation as well, as much as they might be aggressive to gain any kind of positions they can now towards the fag end of the race. But they need to be mindful as well as to finish first you have to finish, and they wouldn't want to get themselves involved in incidents by being just a bit too eager in kind of making inroads, and that could definitely be, we could be seeing that under the helmet of the Alfa Romeo driver, because he would be on the softs and have all his elbows out, as the safety car is now in this lap. The AlphaTauri is still warming his tires up. I think there's just a bit of spectator lag for me. And has the AlphaTauri gone? He has gone. And as the drivers behind are very close to each other for comfort, as the Alpines pulling on the inside. Are they looking for a move on the Alfa Romeo? Yes, they are, but the Alfa Romeo should also be pretty much very soon looking to make a move here on the drivers up ahead, as well as now all the temperatures would also have come into their operating range on this tires right now, as LRE Stretch has retired from the session. Oh, he probably had a moment at that exit of that hairpin, and he has lost his car now. But the question is, the Alfa Romeo on the inside, Psycho ALB gives him just about enough space, but still holds that position. But the Alfa Romeo might just get that better grip from out of those soft tires, and FA Ima has also gotten a 3-second penalty, which is just going to hurt his race a lot. But now Mr. Psycho ALB and SBS Mr. Rage is the Alpine looks to take a peek on the Alfa Romeo, but nothing doing, and all these three drivers still following suit. And as the laps go in, this must be good news for Troy, as he would definitely keep looking to pull in, as the Alfa Romeo comes very close to Mr. Psycho LB. Psycho parking his car at the right place so as to not lose that position, and also compromises the exit of those fast soft runners behind. But there are still 1.5 laps to go, and what can these drivers do, especially with DRS as well in the final lap? So as FA Ima has lost a lot of ground to Troy, and now the McLaren of Psycho ALB was eager to make a move, but shuts the door. Shutting the door is what the Mercedes driver did there, and Psycho ALB would still have to live, but he would want to stick to within 1 second of the Mercedes ahead, so that he gets the DRS assist from the cars for the Alpine. One of them has lost out on their battery as well, and these drivers are very close to each other as DRS is now enabled. But Troy, it's smooth sailing for Troy right now, who has a 2 second gap over FAIMA, and then it is less than a second separating all these drivers. As there's a yellow flag for CPL Damon, I think that is it? Yes, it is Damon who has had a major moment there, but the soft runners for some reason are not able to find their way through from the McLaren ahead. But that help FAIMA, or will this destroy FAIMA right now? Will he get eaten up without any DRS? Not a lot of batteries for these drivers, any of these drivers now. It's all, FAIMA, I think, just hits the wall and also resets to track. Oh, I don't know if he hit the wall or did he get hit from behind, which made him hit the wall. But now Mr. Psycho poised to take P2 because there is a driver with a penalty behind, and Yagizan might just finish in the podium position. But we can now come back to the Alpha Tauri driver rounding up the final set of corners, and we'll see the checkered flag. A brilliant race from him as Psycho holds on to P2, Yagizan with P3, and SBS Rage dropping down to P4. The FA Ima finally finishing P5, and Damon with that spin in the last lap does finish P6. Out of 19 participants in the race, so that's just about 33% of the drivers finishing the race, and a non-finisher is somehow the driver of the day who retired in the last lap. But probably the game deciding to give him the driver of the day, having held his car for 28 laps or so, or even more than that, right from P19. But this is how things stand at Miami after 29 laps around Miami. Troye with that win. Mr. Psycho was the guy who was on eventually pole and not Troye, but he finishes P2. Yagizan in rounding up the final podium positions. Mr. Rage, FAIMA, and CPI Damon. The only finishers, while there might just be points for LRE Stretch and Volcott, I'm not very sure, but Exo Wolves, Igor, Kaya, Xavier, Destroyer Sean, Godsword Killer, Ranger, Nick, Snotpin, Tails VR, and Kingsman. The rest of the finishers and a lot of on track retirees, so not the best of cases for them as well. So that might just be a long evening for the stewards, or rather long week for the stewards, having to fight out these incidents, as this pretty much brings us to the end of the race tonight. I hope you enjoyed the race, which was as topsy-turvy as it could be, and not the best of sights with a lot of DNFs, but it is still round two and a long season to go. So hopefully we do see drivers finding their rhythm back for this league. And until next week, it is me, Easy Level Bot / Octavian, signing out.